Hi, Patton. How are you?
Good. Have we interviewed before?
We have, you might have with the Marys if you haven't with me. It's my first time
Okay.
getting to interview
Feel
you.
like I've talked to you. I know I've talked. I know I've interviewed with the Mary Sue. So,
I'm new to talking to you, and I'm very excited about it because you're one of my
oh,
favorite. But hosting a game show in general is not easy, but doing one that isn't kind of what like the standard kind of setup for a game
right.
show is a different challenge. So, what for you was your strategy going into something like this that isn't the run of the mill game show as we know it?
That's a really good question. I use the exact same strategy that I use when I go into like a new city as a stand-up, which is I'm genuinely excited to be there and I'm curious not only about my surroundings but about the individuals. And when you're on stage and you are clearly open to being surprised and taken in different directions, that makes the crowd kind of energized and
Mhm.
surprised. So I was like, oh, I wait a minute. I don't have to just sit there and read trivia questions and then answer. I get to talk to them. God knows what their stories are going to be. This could go in any direction. And so I let that be exciting and energizing rather than intimidating. Like, oh, this is a massive advantage because you don't see this on game shows.
Yeah, and does your comedy and improv kind of help with that? Because it is essentially it is a conversation, but it is
It
also
is.
you have to think quickly on your feet and make sure that it's also funny for the audience still watching it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's crowd work. You have to
Mhm.
and crowd, but I think crowd work comes from a bad crowd work is I have all my stuff pre-planned and I manipulate the conversation so I can say my pre-planned jokes. And also bad crowd work is I need to win every conversation. But good crowd work is I'm just asking questions and if someone says something funnier than me, even better, let them roll for a bit and let it go back and forth and be confident enough to just lean back and let the whole thing happen. So I tried to bring that energy to it. And I think that makes everyone kind of excited because even the people that don't get called on, I'm hoping, well, they just got to watch a really surreal, funny conversation with someone. I would talk to these people that you'd look at their CV and you're like, oh, it says here that you run a small farm. And then they go, yeah, but the reason I'm doing it, and then their story as to how they got there is so nutsoid that they weren't able to fit that into the bio. So then you can run with that even more. It's
Yeah.
really fun.
When you also like you have multiple kind of approaches to being yourself on camera versus like acting
Hmm.
roles because you were obviously very serious in the HBO documentary I'll
Yes.
Be Gone by Night. You were you're very very funny in your stand up which is still you but it's also a persona and then now
Mhm.
you're this where you're Patton Oswalt as a host. Do you have different approaches to each of those, or is it just kind of the circumstance that you find yourself in and how you approach it in that way?
It's weird. The term approach, it's like I don't have a pre-planned approach like, well, okay, now I got to do my serious actor approach, or now I got to do my, stand-up approach. I've gotten to the point where each thing is its own situation, and each day is its own situation.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you're doing a drama film, a day of shooting can end up being very, very light. Sometimes if I'm doing a stand-up set, it can end up getting dark and heavy. So if as long as you embrace and are real and accepting to whatever each situation is, that's what keeps you energized and engaged and present. There are moments on the 1% Club where some people's stories were kind of dark. They're dealing with it in trying to deal with it in a funny way, but I never shied away from that. And, like if someone had a story that might be a little less upbeat, I didn't go, well, hey, we're just here to have fun and play. Like I would go, okay, well, let's talk about that, and then kind of play all that into it. I mean, you know this. Every single one of your days has moments of you're cracking up. You're so angry. You're like that's every hour of your life is like that. So if you embrace all of it, it feels actually like normal life when you do that.
Yeah, and I have to be very honest. My favorite show in this entire world is Parks and Recreation. I have a cat named Benjamin Wyatt the cat. So your filibuster is something that I watch often whenever I'm kind of like, well, I want to unwind. Let me watch the filibuster that you do. But that is a skill that I think a lot of times can be applied to things like this because if someone's not filling that airtime, you kind
Mhm.
of are forced to do it yourself. Did you
Exactly.
ever have a moment on the first or the 1% club where you were like, well, I'm gonna have to fill this. I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna riff?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. You have to approach that of oh, this person's giving me nothing, so now I've got to take if you have that attitude, it feels like you're almost scolding them, like, thanks for giving me nothing. Some people that are quiet and aren't that conversational have the exact same depth of feeling as someone who's very outgoing and gregarious and bubbly. So you have to just treat them the same way and be sometimes the less they're saying, the more they're giving you.
Mm-hmm.
So by giving you little terse answers, they're weirdly saying even more about themselves. So it's not you filling in, it's them sparking oh, that silence you just left me is letting me run with something that will connect back to you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And then for a last question, I have to ask, you're a man who's done almost everything at this point in his career. Like I just watched Dollhouse for the first time. I saw you there making me cry. I'm
Oh,
watching Agents of Shield. I watched you in the Marvel world. Is there something, and now you're hosting your own game show, you've done documentaries, you've done all of it. Is there something that you have not done as a creative that you were itching to do now that you have kind of marked this one off your checklist?
I want to direct a film that I've written. That's on the list. That's the next thing. I really want to do that. So that's kind of what I'm working toward.
Oh, I
Yeah.
cannot wait. Can't wait to show my brother this. He's gonna be so mad. Him and his wife went and saw you when you went to Charlotte, and he talks about it all of the time. So I can't.
I think I'm back in Charlotte next spring. I'll be back in
Oh,
Charlotte. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to tell him.
Where are you right now?
New York.
Oh, you're in New York. I'm
Yeah.
there. Well, I'm there in 2 weeks, but it's all upfront stuff. I'm not doing any shows. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'm here. But my brother talks about seeing you all the time. So I can't wait for him to watch this. And thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And seriously, the site you're writing for is fantastic. So tell
Oh,
them thank you from me.
I will. Thank you so much. I
Okay.
really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good
Bye.
one.